everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you. Sorry, just fixing stuff on the screen, and I am back. Hello, everybody. Good to be here with you all. As you might be able to tell, I have got back. I was over in Albany, and we just returned from Albany. What a great weekend. It was busy. There were so many photos. I have hundreds of photos. I know you can see that I've had several videos that were up covering the People's Convoy protest in Albany, New York that happened yesterday, the 23rd. We were at Blackthorn Resort today, the 24th, and I did have some more video up there. We spoke with Andrew Giuliani, who was also in Endicott, New York today. Wasn't able to get there because I was coming back. Also was over, and you may have noticed, I spoke with Larry Sharp as well, had an interview with him. Why is that not showing up? Agent Black, I know you're right there, and where's my chat? Where's my chat? So I literally just walked in the door, put up my systems, and my chat, of course, is not showing up. That's me. Come on. There's that. Why is the chat not showing up? And I do see Agent Black, who has mentioned, thank you. He says it was a good interview with Giuliani. Why is it not showing up? Bear with me, folks. I'm trying to get my system. I literally just walked back in the door. Literally just walked in the door about 5 minutes ago, turned up the systems, and came on because I miss you all. I'm happy to be here, and I apologize for being a little late. Hang on a second. Trying to type here. I can't do anything right now. There we go. So I'm sure you guys can see the comments. I'm going to try and fix that because I don't know why it's not showing up properly. It should be. But anyway, so there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, I want to talk about Andrew Giuliani, the fact that he's running for the race, even though Lee Zeldin is also running for the race, the New York governor's race in New York on the Republican ticket. And the way the mainstream Republican Party, the establishment, are trying to put it out, you would think that there wasn't another candidate, that no one else happened to be there. But that's not the truth. That's not what's real. The reality is that there is a challenger. It is a Republican, and it is Andrew Giuliani, 36 years old, the son of Rudy Giuliani. And we did a quick interview with him. I was only able to get, yeah, I know everything may be down because I literally just brought up the entire system, and now I'm speaking, and I can't even hear my own feedback. I'm sure something isn't turned on at the moment, so I apologize for that, folks. This is what happens when I come back on the same day that I'm supposed to podcast and I'm speaking with you. But it was interesting because Giuliani, he's 36. A lot of people think he's just trying to gain fame, to trade on his parents' name, which is, you know, if you're talking about nepotism, we're talking about the United States Congress. We're talking about politics. Nepotism is everywhere. But more importantly, he's not looking at it that way. He is saying that he wants to legitimately run, that he was part of the Trump administration, that he has earned his time. And you know what? I got to give him a lot of credit because he took my question. When I asked him a question, he answered the questions. Now, I didn't get a chance to ask him a lot of questions. I wasn't able to speak with him for, say, 30 minutes, which I like to do to get a full understanding of the candidate, to let them have their voice be heard. So I wasn't able to do that. But what I did do is I spoke to him, and I was able to ask him two questions, one on gun control and one on well, the budget, how to handle and try and help New York. Our economy sucks. And he gave us answers. And whether you think that's a good answer or not, that's up to you. I'm not here to judge and try and figure that out for you. But he gave us an answer, and I think that's important. And I think he deserves the opportunity to be heard. Too often we have the parties, whether it be the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, doesn't really matter. They decide and they choose a candidate for the public. They don't let you get to make a decision, and then you just are losing out. I mean, that's the whole point of the system, is that we're supposed to be able to make a choice. We're supposed to have diverse candidates, and I don't mean diverse like different colors or different sexes or different sexual preferences. That doesn't really matter, because that isn't important to a candidate. Are they the best candidate? Can they answer our questions? Does it make sense? And you know what? Give him his shot. Give him a chance to prove whether or not he is the best candidate for us. Let's hear him out so far. Let's hear him out, and I want you to see. So this is the interview we did with him. A few people have heard with him, and some people may have seen him in Endicott, New York today. But I definitely say, give him a chance to hear his voice out. By the way, that's not a Trump hat. That is a Giuliani hat. A lot of people may not have noticed that. So that's one thing. And we were at the Blackthorn Resort. We were in downtown Albany. I don't know how many people had a chance to see the event as we drove through. I can tell you this much. When throughout the route, both yesterday and today, everyone who, out of all the people who saw the caravan, a mile long of vehicles and people, there were over 400 people who were attending the event. I can tell you that I saw maybe 24 people who had noticed us, who were there watching us as we were driving through downtown Albany. And I can tell you, out of those 24 people, there was only about 3 people, maybe 4 people who are actually against the protest, that are actually upset. Well, let me put in a caveat there. There were 4 people on the streets of downtown Albany, just 3, maybe 4 of them that were upset. And I'd say probably about a dozen that were cheering us on. And there was 1 member of Antifa, and I have a picture of him. 1 member of Antifa, dressed in all black with his black mask on an electric bike at the University of Albany, the SUNY Albany campus. 1 member of Antifa was there. And that 1 member of Antifa tried to shoot off fireworks at 400 American citizens who were peacefully protesting in a parking lot that had nothing to do with him. State troopers were called out. He was chased down. He ran away like the coward that he was, but he did not interrupt. In fact, if you're looking at, I think, the second video that I was doing at the Albany, at the protest at the University of Albany, SUNY Albany, you can hear a firecracker going off. And he fired off 2 of them, trying to hit I think he was trying to hit either the flag or he was trying to hit some of the speakers at the event. And I got a picture of him. And then he ran away as soon as people came up to try and confront him, to stop him from trying to assault people. I got to tell you, it's amazing to me. Think about this, folks. Antifa. These groups, they are so terrified of a group of Americans being able to speak, to just have a rally, to talk. Yes, it's a protest. We're upset with appointed Governor Kathy Hochul. We're upset with New York State's single-party rule and the fact that they are trying to overreach, micromanage our lives. Because people were willing to stand up and to make that statement, that people, who, some of them candidates, were saying they want to change that kind of process. Antifa, one of their members, decided, well, the only answer that he had, rather than speaking to anyone, to voice his opinion, to try and say why he thought we were wrong, his only answer was, well, let me try and attack. Let me try and attack people. Let me try and disrupt their lives. Let's try and, I don't know if he was trying to call in a bomb threat or what he was trying to do, but his answer was violence. Because we had a conversation, he decided that he needed to be violent. That is the wrong answer. What are our colleges teaching our students? What is wrong with our school system that we are telling our kids the answer to someone saying something you may not like, especially in politics? If you don't like it, Antifa's answer is violence. In every single turn, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, Citizen Action, these far left organizations, they try to silence people. They try to attack people, both verbally and physically. They try and disrupt people's lives just because you have an opinion they don't like. We got to denounce that. We must always denounce it. Over 400 people were standing peacefully, having a conversation, not interrupting anyone else. Police were on scene. Everything was authorized. Permits were available. We had the police escorting us through. There was no problem. The public was never endangered. And unlike in Minneapolis, unlike in Seattle, unlike in Portland and Atlanta and Austin and Boulder and New York City and so many other cities that I can name, we didn't burn down the city. We didn't kill any people. No one was endangered. No property was destroyed. In fact, the property was probably cleaner after we left than when we got there. And because we were doing the right thing, peaceably assembling our First Amendment right, we were peaceably speaking our mind, letting people know what we had to say. We had the far left trying to intimidate us, trying to attack us. I guess they thought that they would be able to, I guess they ran away when they realized that there were over 400 people there and they didn't show up. But one of their members did. And one of their members decided to try and use violence. We must denounce that. Because even if you're not a libertarian, a Republican, a conservative, even if you are a Democrat, maybe you're moderate, maybe you're progressive, you know what? The answer in America is not to denounce people and to deprive them of the opportunity to be able to speak. That is never the answer. Agent Black has mentioned that the kid was brainwashed, and he feels the same way on many issues and probably have the skill to do it, but it's wrong. No violence is the answer. And you're right, Agent Black. No one should be violent. There is no need for violence. There is no need to attack anyone just because you disagree. Is that such a hard thing? Is that so hard? What I'm saying right now, is that so difficult that teachers can't be able to teach their students that? That colleges can't say that? Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't instantly make them evil. It doesn't make them Satan. And it doesn't mean that you get to use violence against them. Is that so hard to figure out, folks? It's the 21st century. I would think that wouldn't be that big a deal, but it seems that it is. And that's very, very upsetting. I don't know. I thought it was pretty straightforward. That's what I thought. I thought it would be easy, but no. Seems that it's not. I don't know why. I'm trying to fix my chat here because the chat is just not coming up and I don't know why. Let me try and fix that for you folks so that you can see what compact mount. Let's see. Is that? Let's see if I fix the chat here. Nope, that doesn't fix it. Okay, but so that's talking about Albany. And by the way, I'm happy to speak to anyone about what happened there, about the mile of cars and trucks and motorcycles that we had, about the conversations that I was able to have with people all through the night and all through the day, talking about the speakers that were there. You can also see, like here, you can see Rudy Giuliani in his words himself. You can hear Larry Sharp and many of the other speakers in our coverage that we've provided. But we're talking about violence, and we're talking about what our leadership are telling us. Remember that we just heard from, it was Joe Biden, telling us that, well, ghost guns are going to save your life. that their ban on ghost guns will save you. It will end mass shootings. It will end violence. Remember, we were told that the New York SAFE Act would end all violence. We were told that the red flag laws would end all violence. Well, we had the New York subway shooting, something that's disappeared from the news. It's gone. No one's talking about it. Well, you know what? In Binghamton, New York, just a couple days ago, on the 22nd, as you can see, a 12-year-old girl was shot walking with her parents. She was shot, killed, single bullet into the chest, killed a 12-year-old child. Where was the New York SAFE Act protecting her? Where was the red flag law that protected her? How about the ghost gun laws, these bans? How are they protecting her? And do you know why it didn't protect her? Because they don't work. Because they don't protect you, they protect criminals. It stops you from being able to have a firearm. It stops you from being able to protect your family, but it doesn't stop the criminal or the criminally insane. They don't care about these laws. They don't care whether you agree with them or not. They want to commit crimes. This, I believe, and this is speculation, but the shooting in Binghamton very likely was a gang or drug-related event. And they wanted to hurt someone. They were going after someone. And a child died because of it. And the red flag laws and the New York SAFE Act and magazine bans and bans on types of guns and ghost gun protocols, none of that made a difference. They didn't make a single person safer. By the way, I know you can't see it on the screen right now. I apologize. My system's acting up. But I want to say, Hot Chicks, I see that you're here. It's good to hear from you. Thank you. Hot Chicks mentions that these criminals, the gang members that killed this 12-year-old girl, they wanted her to die. You know what? They do. And we have to treat them like the violent, murderous criminals that they are. And we have to not have bail reform and let them walk right outside the door and go right back onto the street to harm more people. We don't need to release these people. We need to keep them in jail. Bail reform is not an answer either. Again, this is something that helps the criminal. It doesn't protect the public. So why are we doing it? Pixie Pedal mentions that they were in Albany for the Convoy, and they want to thank us for reporting on it, and it was our pleasure. Thank you, Pixie. You were great. It was great having conversations with you, and the many people I spoke to at the event. I loved it. But yeah, these gangs that are killing these children, these criminals, these crazy individuals, that we need to treat them and stop treating them with kid gloves, and we don't need to hold them accountable. We need to throw them in jail and then let them go to trial and then throw them in jail when they are guilty, when they are convicted, and not sit around going, oh, I hope they're going to be okay. Oh, but he's black. Yeah, well, he was black and shot a 12-year-old child. It's his responsibility. I don't care if he grew up poor. I don't care if he thinks that he's disadvantaged. I don't care if you think that the system is systemically racist. I don't care. Because none of those reasons justifies someone picking up a gun and killing a 12-year-old girl. None of those reasons give you the right to go out and to have a gangland shootout over drugs to be able to and kill innocent children. I don't care if you think the system is racist, because the system, even if it was, even if you could say that it was racist, does not justify you picking up a gun and killing a 12-year-old girl. Can we all agree on that? Because if someone can't agree on that, call in to 607-242-1582. And I am very sure that my phone line is working. At least that is running right now. So my phone line is or should be working. But I think we all can agree, and I know the chat may not show it, but I think everyone will agree that nothing Nothing justifies a 12-year-old girl being killed. You know what? Why is there no outrage about this? The same people who are screaming about Florida and trying to make up this Don't Say Gay bill, which it doesn't say that. It says don't teach 5-year-olds about sexuality, about sexual actions. Leave that for kids in high school. But the people who are there like Disney, who are screaming, no, you must be able to teach a 5-year-old who doesn't know how to do 2 times 2 equals 4, a kid who can't figure out that, who doesn't understand the word homosexual or heterosexual. Yeah, that's the kid we have to teach about sexuality and about sexual relationships. Are we kidding? But they're outraged, and we see the nation screaming about Disney and about teaching these kids about words they don't even comprehend. But a 12-year-old child died because of a gang. Well, I believe because of a gang, or might have been drugs. If nothing else, a crazed individual killed a 12-year-old child. And I don't hear the same people who are screaming about the racism, screaming about the intersectionality, screaming about making sure they can teach 5-year-olds about sex. I don't hear them screaming about this 12-year-old girl, not in my local community, not on the state level, not in the national level. And I have to ask you, why do you think that is? Why do you think that when children are killed because the gun control laws don't work, because they never were meant to work, and we're wasting money on that, and at the same time we have people like Brian Benjamin, the disgraced former lieutenant governor of New York, he's pushing this. We have Democratic Socialists of America, especially the Ithaca chapter, the violent chapter, they're promoting this. We have progressives who are pushing this idea. They're saying that we need to let these criminals out. And we see these criminals are killing our communities, literally killing our communities. Why are we treating them with kid gloves? Because the kid might be black? Because he might be Hispanic? It might be a woman? It's still a murder. I don't care about those things. They don't make any difference. That doesn't change the decision to say, I'm going to shoot at innocent individuals. I'm going to shoot at a child. That does not change. And our society is going downhill if we cannot all agree that regardless of the color of someone's skin, regardless of the way that people may look or how they feel or what they think of themselves, I don't care if you want to call yourself a toaster, it will never justify killing innocent children in our streets. Ever. I think we all should be able to agree with that. Again, if you can't agree with that, if you don't think that's true, yes, you can still leave a comment. I know it's not showing on the screen, but you can leave me a comment on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You can call into this program at 607-242-1582. And please explain to me why I need to have a ghost gun ban to stop, how a ghost gun ban is going to stop the criminal who shot a 12-year-old girl. Please explain to me how the color of the skin of the crazed lunatic that shot a 12-year-old girl makes a difference. Please tell me why bail reform should exist and lighter sentencing should exist, because the color of the skin of the shooter that killed a 12-year-old girl makes a difference about that crime. And you know what? Nobody on the left is ever going to answer those questions. Instead, they're going to say you're a racist, and they're going to run away. They're going to run away and be completely silent because they know there is no justification. And bail reform doesn't make you safer. Defunding the police doesn't make you safer. Going out there and trying to punish American citizens for owning a firearm, the Second Amendment right, will never justify and somehow prevent this problem. Agent Black says it wouldn't stop the crime. A different weapon would have been used, e.g. a knife or a blade. And that's the other thing. Every time we've seen this, people get stabbed with knives all the time. There are more people who are stabbed with knives 5 times more. 5 times. 5 times more people who get killed by knives than by rifles and shotguns. That is a fact. And you know where I get that fact from? From the FBI. Crime in the USA report. You can look it up yourself. I've shown it on this program. It's been on videos. Crime in the USA. Look it up for yourself. Historically and year after year, they are always, knives are more deadly than rifles, which they're telling us are the deadliest thing that ever existed to man. They call it weapons of war. Can't be much of a weapon of war if knives are more deadly. And that is a fact. And I recently went over the New York GIVE report, which shows you that with all of these reforms that they have promised would save your life, that are going to make you safe, crime has done nothing but go up. Not just in 2020, not just in 2021, but in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2012, 2013, 2014, it's been going up. It's not just because of the pandemic. It's their experiment on us has failed. And I'm upset that we even ran this social experiment in the first place. But you know what? It happened. Let's end this experiment. It's failed. Bail reform has failed. It doesn't work. It doesn't make you safer. Lighter sentences for these criminals because of the color of their skin has failed. It doesn't make you safer. Let's stop that experiment. Let's stop punishing law-abiding American citizens because the ghost guns, the ghost gun ban, the magazine ban, the cosmetic rifle ban, none of this stuff has made you safer. It doesn't work in Chicago or in Detroit, in Baltimore, LA, New York, Washington, D.C., St. Louis. I can go down the list even further. It doesn't work. It has never worked. It never will work. Stop wasting our money and time. Let's punish the criminals. And how about a neat idea? Instead of defunding the police, how about we increase the police? I know it's a crazy idea. You know where I got that idea from? Minneapolis, the black population of Minneapolis, a city that was burned down by BLM, said they want 71% of black respondents want more police, not less police. How about we listen to them and do what they said? Instead of trying to defund the police, we actually get more police, stop treating these criminals with kid gloves and treat them like they are criminals, put them in jail, and let's not worry about it. But Mike, you're a racist. Really? Really? I don't think so. I think the racist is the person who's giving an excuse for all of this. I think the racist is the person who says it's okay that they killed an innocent 12-year-old girl. I want to emphasize that so that it makes sense, especially to the people on the left that might watch this program, that might see this live stream. I want you to see this, and I want you to understand the consequence of all of these social experiments. I want you to understand the consequence of defunding the police, of bail reform, of lighter sentences for people based on the color of their skin, on all of these anti-Second Amendment actions. The result is the death of a 12-year-old girl. And that's happening not just in Binghamton, not just in Chicago, not just in New York and Portland and Seattle and San Francisco and LA and Austin and Boulder, Colorado and Atlanta. I can keep going. The answer is this is a problem. And the answer to the problem isn't the social experiment. It's enforcing the laws that we have because they were right. Now, Dal says, hello. Hello, Dal. Thank you. I am back from Albany. The reason why the system's screwed up right now is because, well, I just turned on everything and came out to speak to all of you because I missed you guys, and I don't. If I can help it, I will never miss a Sunday live stream talking with you. Whether or not your chats show up, I'm always here to try and speak with you because you are the reason why we're here. But you can call in to 607-242-1582. The phone lines are on, and I can hear your voice, so you're more than welcome to call in. Even if you disagree, I happily will respectfully hear your voice. I know I am a very passionate man. I speak authoritatively, but that does not mean that you cannot tell me that you disagree. I am happy to hear your voice, to let you try and, because if I've got it wrong, I'd rather be corrected, but I don't think I am, which is why we don't get progressives calling in. It's why they do not ever actually justify the reasons they have. Their logic is never correct when you actually look at it. It doesn't make sense. That's why they don't call in. It's why so many Democratic candidates are afraid to call into this program. They're afraid to be able to have a conversation. And I'm going to get to your comments, Agent Black and Dow, just one second. But when I say that they are afraid, and they are afraid for a reason, I'm talking about people like Josh Riley, who I know, and I've known Josh for about 7 years now. He used to work for Senator Al Franken before he was disgraced and kicked out of the Senate because of Me Too allegations. Josh Riley, who's running for the New York 22nd District, he doesn't live in the New York 22nd District because it was because of the gerrymandering. The lines were changed. So he doesn't live in the New York 22nd District, but he's running in the New York 22nd District because it's a plus 18, because it's a very safe Democratic district for Congress. And Josh, who I know, who promised to be on this program in January, and I've been speaking to him about being on this program since October 2021, actually even before that. But he made promise that he would come onto this program so that he could speak to voters. And the second that he thought he didn't need it because he had a safe Democratic district and he could just run as a Democrat, and he had raised a lot of money, over $500,000, because he thought he had enough money to put out enough commercials to make people vote for him, he decided not to come onto this program because he didn't want to answer the questions. It's the only answer I have. And Josh, you have my phone number, both privately and the one here on the show. If you think, Josh, that I am being unfair, if you think I am mischaracterizing you, if you think that I am revealing too much, let me know, privately or, more importantly, publicly. But you were supposed to be on this show. I announced it. I told people about it publicly. And then you've backed away and you refuse to answer any of our questions anymore on Twitter or in public on this program. So I'm calling you out. And you know what? Maybe that's a symptom. Maybe the fear of coming onto this program, like Andrew Giuliani did, like Larry Schrapp has, like we've had Donald Lapardo, who's a Democrat on this program, Jason Garnar, who's a Democrat on this program, like Spike Cohen, who is a libertarian. We've had them on here. We treat them all with respect. But when they don't, and I've noticed this a lot, when these candidates do not come onto this program to speak to you, the public, I am not shocked when I suddenly hear, oh, now you've got a lawsuit because you may have committed a crime, because you may have abused the system, that it is alleged that you are misusing campaign funds to be able to win an election. I'm not surprised between the correlation of not talking to the public, especially on this program, where you will be held accountable regardless of the political party that you are in, and then suddenly seeing this kind of this problem. And again, it is an allegation that his campaign committed fraud. I'm not saying it. That's being reported by Syracuse.com on April 22nd. That's the allegation that exists at this moment. Josh is welcome to come on to this program to explain his side of the story, to tell the public whether or not that is true, and to defend his character. I will give him as much time as he needs to answer that. But voters in the New York 22nd District, voters in New York State, and voters who are in the United States and will be affected by any vote. If he were to win, they will be affected by him. They all deserve, and he is obligated to tell them what's going on. You know the phone number, Josh, and in case you don't, 607-242-1582. You want to run for Congress, you want to be a congressman, fantastic, show up on this program. Your opponent, who is Francis Colone, who also has refused to answer our questions, he can come onto this program. He can give his answers, but you're going to be held accountable, and I'm going to ask you tough questions, just like I ask everyone tough questions, because if you can't handle me, you can't handle Congress, and you don't deserve to be in there. Now, let me get to some of the comments, and I know, folks, again, I apologize. The comments are not showing up. I don't know why. But let me read some of the comments here. So going back to talking about bail reform, getting back to talking about defunding the police, Agent Black, who is our audience member from the United Kingdom across the pond, he says, if laws were prosecuted as intended, there would be a lot less crime. In the United Kingdom, it seems if you now say sorry, you don't go to jail. Well, in the United States, Agent Black, it doesn't matter. You don't have to say sorry. All you have to be is black or Hispanic or a woman. And then the courts, because of the progressive judges out there, because of the activist judges like Ketanji Brown Jackson, well, these judges will see that you are black or you appear to be a woman because they're not biologists, but they'll assume you're a woman or you're Hispanic, and they're going to say, well, okay, you don't have to say sorry. They will apologize to you and give you the lightest sentence possible, because that's exactly what Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson did. She apologized to a pedophile, a child pornography criminal, and she apologized in the courtroom for having to give him a sentence and giving him the lightest sentence allowed by law. That's the problem. That's insane. So why are we treating criminals like this? I don't understand. Dal mentions that he would keep the police as they need to be, but we should increase incentives to arm the populace, like the Second Amendment, and to train people like we used to do in the 1950s, and like I have suggested on this program that we need to do for every woman. Every woman in America should go through high school, and one of the courses required is to be trained on how to use a firearm. To be able to get your high school diploma, to be able to go to college, you have to say, I am aware and am proficient in being able to use a firearm. Every woman. So I agree with that. Dow goes on to say, and have lawful gun owners work in tandem with law enforcement and make robust self-defense laws. I agree with every word you said, Dow, and not one politician has the balls to stand up and stand with you. I agree with you. I will say that, every word of it. And I don't know a single politician. Every contact I have in Congress, none of the politicians, and I'm talking about Republicans as much as I'm talking about Democrats right now, they won't do this. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. Especially in the states of New York, California, Illinois, Maryland. They absolutely will not let that happen because they want you to be beholden. They want you to be cradle to grave, taken care of by the government. The government will put police. The government will protect you. And it doesn't. That's the promise. That's the promise that gets them elected. That's the promise that gets them reelected. And the reality is you're on your own. And if you try to take care of yourself on your own, they want to punish you. That is a reality. If you disagree, 607-242-1582. Hang on one second, folks. I'm going to keep going with the comments in just 1 second. Again, I'm trying to fix my system. If you're seeing the program for the first time, if it's informative, if it's interesting, if you're enjoying it or you learn something from it, please do me one favor. Like, share, subscribe. Whether you're watching this on Rumble or Odyssey, Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, please subscribe. It's the biggest thing. We're trying to get to 1,234 subscribers. This program is in the top 85% of news on YouTube. We're pretty big. We're in the top 15% of all news channels on YouTube at this moment. And we're growing. But we can only do it with your support, and I thank you, each and every one of you who do support this channel in any way. So we thank you for that. Even though that, we're not CNBC, we're not Tim Pool, we're not rich. We work a 9-to-5 job just like you when I can get hired, when vaccine mandates don't prevent me from getting hired. I work a 9-to-5 job just like you. I'm dirt poor like everyone else. And I lose money doing this every year. I've got no sponsors, so I know how it feels. So your subscription makes a huge difference to me. And I hope you'll consider it. With that said, let's go back to the comments. And I know there's a couple more here, so I'm going to get to you all. So Agent Black says, I don't believe the police are the problem. Apart from not having enough resources, it's the courts, not including the corrupt elements of law enforcement. Now, of course, no one is saying that police are saints. I do back the blue because I think the only overwhelming number of police officers that are out there are great people. And I do support them, and I've said that publicly. And I have been attacked by progressive leaders of tomorrow, by the far left, running up into my face and calling me a white supremacist because I said my police force, which has zero police abuse charges for the last couple of years, none, because the webcams that they wear prove they have no problems with anyone because of color. They have been doing their jobs properly. And I am going to praise them when they do their job right. And I was told that's tantamount and equals white supremacy. I think that the far left have no idea what they're talking about, and they're trying to use a scare tactic. They use words like being an ist and a phobe, that they want to call you a white supremacist regardless of being a black Hispanic. They'll say these things because they want to scare you and make you run away, to try and not let you speak out. Just like that one Antifa kid at SUNY Albany decided to try and shoot off firecrackers from trying to hide in the woods and shoot firecrackers at us because he thought that would make us run away, that he would give us fear, that he would silence us through fear and intimidation. It didn't work. And we need to see more of that in our daily lives. If you think I'm wrong, I'm always all ears. Hot Chicks says, give the cops the donuts you were going to throw away anyway. Let them eat all the time. You're funny. Hot Chicks, you have so many jokes. You're funny. And then Hot Chicks goes on to say, give that cop a cup of free cup of coffee. Ain't no skin off your nose, donut man. You're funny. You're funny, Hot Chicks. Dow says, he can appreciate what I'm saying, but without support from the majority of the community, it makes law enforcement's job harder to dedicate resources and attention to weeding out the corrupt. And and crimes. Well, I agree with you, Dal, but here's the thing. Progressive leaders of tomorrow plot, if you put all of the far left together, I mean all of them, the Democratic Socialists of Ithaca, the progressives, the AOC, and all of the Ilhan Omars and Cori Bush, if you put all of these people together, they are a splinter of the Democratic Party. There may be about 3 to 5% of the entire population of the United States. Everyone outnumbers them. I think the Green Party outnumbers them. I know libertarians outnumber all of the far left. And that's to say nothing of moderate Democrats and any kind of Republican whatsoever. We all outnumber them. They just have a really big voice, and they have a lot of friends that work in the news media and work in social media. I mean, just look at what's going on with Twitter. Twitter is terrified of anyone being able to speak. They're terrified of it. They're so terrified they're using poison pills. They're risking lawsuits from their shareholders, and they're using every excuse in the book because they're terrified that someone might make them let people speak. Mind you, they're perfectly happy to let the Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, a man who routinely asks for everyone in Israel and every single American to die. The Ayatollah of Iran wants to kill people in Europe and in Japan, around the world. He wants everyone to die that doesn't believe what he believes. And he has funded the IRGC, Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, is funded by Iran under the orders of the Ayatollah of Iran, global terrorists, and Twitter is perfectly happy to let him have a voice. Facebook is perfectly happy to let progressive leaders of tomorrow and BLM and Antifa have pages. But they want to punish me for speaking to you because I'm a black Republican. And to them, I'm more dangerous than the Ayatollah. And you know why? Because I'm willing to tell you that they are full of it. Because they are wrong. Because I'm willing to say I don't agree. And my color of skin doesn't presuppose my ability to think for myself. It doesn't require me to be a Democrat. It doesn't mandate that I have to be a progressive and that I have to say, oh, well, you must do these things. No. But by their rules, they should treat me better. I should never get a content strike from YouTube or Facebook or Twitter because I'm black. I'm Hispanic. Am I not supposed to be a protected class? Aren't they supposed to be looking out for me? Oh no, but the unspoken part is, oh, but you're a Republican. And that's evil. You can't be Republican. You can only be the checkbox. You're black. There's a checkbox. If you're black, you have to be a Democrat. If you're a woman, you're supposed to be a Democrat. If you're white, and you're white and a Democrat, well, you're supposed to be a democratic socialist, a communist, in other words. Yeah, that's where you're supposed to be because that's the boxes they checked for you because they don't care about you as an individual. They don't care about you. They care about their power. And if there is anyone in Antifa, in the progressive leaders of tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT, the Democratic Socialists of America, especially the Ithaca chapter that believes in violence. If there is anyone on the far left, please, if you disagree, call in. I'll be happy to have that conversation with you. But I have people over and over again that I have spoken to, including this weekend, at the People's Convoy in Albany, at the Blackthorn Resort. So many people I was talking to. This woman who, there was one woman who told me this, it was tragic. And she's a former Marine. And she was telling me about her friend, this man, a drunk driver, who has previously had several arrests from police, has been convicted of serious violent crimes in the past. Drunk driving, hit and run, hit someone, killed that couple. And the police catch this criminal red-handed. Catch them red-handed. He goes to jail. Same day. Bail reform. They release him. Same day. Convicted criminal, violent crimes, history of this, drunk driving, caught red-handed, killed an innocent civilian, went into jail, walked out of the jail, and guess what? He's gone. They don't know where he is. And here's the funny part. He missed his sentencing. Well, gee, if someone is a guilty criminal and they know they're going to be convicted because they were caught red-handed, all evidence shows them being guilty as sin, and you let them walk free, do you really think they're going to walk back into the courthouse and go, oh, well, I guess you can throw me in jail now? Come on, folks. It's time to end this social experiment, and it's time for politicians to be held accountable and not to dodge questions and to answer to the public, because you're a servant. And when you run for an elected office, you are running to be a servant, which means you need to speak to the public and to answer their questions. And I know that I get a lot of Republicans that do it. I know I get a lot of libertarians that do it, but I don't have a whole lot of Democrats that are willing to do it. They run away. And I have to ask you, why? Why are they afraid to actually go on record and have a serious conversation to explain how their policies are making our lives better? Because I know since February of 2021, my life isn't better. And I'll even ask the group this question. So, is your life better now than February of 2021? February. Oh, I can't type today. Is your life better now than it was in February of 2021? Because I don't think just about anyone in the world can say that. We know there's going to be food shortages. We know that people are already starving in many countries, especially in Africa, right now. We know that many people will starve to death around the world, especially in third world countries. But even in America, there's not going to be enough food. We know that prices are going up. We know that inflation is going up and will likely hit our target on this program, our target that we told you about back in February of 2022 of 15% official inflation, and our unofficial target of about 35% increase in prices. That's our unofficial target. You're going to see that in real world when you go out to the store. And I can tell you, life is not better since the Biden-Harris administration took over. Gas is more expensive. Electricity is more expensive. There's less food, and there's going to be even less food than that. There is more violence in the world. There is more global terror in the world. There is more fighting in the world funded by the United States, and they want to fund even more fighting, and they want to fund even more global terrorism by making the Iran nuclear deal, which we have been against and we've been talking about for months. All the while, there are an untold number of Americans in Afghanistan right now. Several thousand Americans remain abandoned in Afghanistan right this second because the Biden administration lied to you and they won't admit the truth. They forgot those people. They threw them away. They don't care that they're American citizens. They went on to the next news story because they have the 2022 midterm elections to win. And if you knew the truth, you wouldn't vote for them. If you knew that they didn't care and they're willing to throw your life away, you wouldn't vote for them. They did the same thing. Joe Biden went on to NBC talking to Lester Holt and said, even if Americans, including their children, were being attacked by Russia, he will not protect American citizens. No president has ever said that. No president in the history of the United States that I am aware of has ever said that. He abandoned on purpose, threw away Americans in Afghanistan to the tender mercies of the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. He threw them away. No president has ever done that before. Lied to the American people about it, which we have shown you the proof from the White House, from the Department of Defense. We've shown you the proof that the government admits they lied. And now he's throwing people away Americans' lives in the Ukraine, and he's supposed to be the compassionate guy? He's supposed to be the guy who likes you and he's here for you? No, you're a checkbox. You are a checkbox to the Democratic Party, and the rest of the world, they don't even care about. They don't even care about the rest of the world. Hang on. Thank you for calling into No Soundbites Allowed. I'm your host, Michael Voss. And may I ask, what is your first name?
It's Mel, right? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. I actually wanted to call to let you know that I was very happy to see one of your speakers at the very end of your last broadcast that was talking about the constitutional observers, the ones that were supposed to show up at different functions of government and oversee whether they were adhering to the constitutions. That was interesting, especially when he started saying who was at fault for the current state of affairs in our nation. And he said, it's us.
Yeah.
He's right. And I kind of chuckled when there were some people that were pushing back because they were like, oh, but we were never taught. And it's like, that's no excuse. And this is why it's extremely important for parents especially to be part of the culture and teaching of their children, because there are certain values that if we want to perpetuate them, we have to be involved. Yeah, you can have your kids play on the games and everything else, and you can have them socialize with others, but there are certain values that we as parents need to make sure that we give to our children, and one of them is love of freedom. Freedom in general is the answer. We have it. We need to hold on to it, but that importance has been downplayed, especially since many people have been comfortable. And I can understand why these people don't want to feel at fault for the problems that we're seeing now.
Well, no one wants that. No one wants to be the blame.
No, but it's funny because back in the Obama years, kind of tied in with what we were just talking about. When under the Obama administration, I had lots of friends. They were saying, "This is the greatest time that we've ever had. Why are you talking about me? Why are you so against this administration when everything is changing and everything is better, what's more inclusive?" And I said, really, it's not getting any better. I have no examples that I can give you where anything that has happened in the last 8 years has benefited myself and my family. They couldn't see it. They couldn't see it because for whatever they were doing, it was working for them. They weren't uncomfortable. And just like this guy saying that the problems that we're seeing now are our fault, it's the reason that it's our fault is because we were comfortable. We weren't seeing the underlying trends as being problematic later on down the road because we were comfortable in the moment. It seemed to be working for a vast majority of vocal people. I'm not saying for the vast majority of people in general. I'm just talking about the ones that were able to control the narrative. Mm-hmm. It was working for them. So people had this idea that things were hunky-dory, that things were working, that we were making gains when really we weren't. And those of us that actually paid attention and learned those values of freedom and of constitutionalism saw what was happening with regulations that were actually limiting us overall. you try to talk to people who are comfortable, and you're like, look, this isn't going to be tenable. This is not going to be sustainable. Oh, you're just a naysayer. Oh, you're just one of those weird prepper people. You're just a a doom person, doom and gloom. Now where are we? We really have to. We as people that do love freedom, that we're comfortable, now have to face the fact that things are bad, and we can't ignore them because it's just going to get worse. 6 months from now or 5 months from now, it could even turn bad next month. I mean, already people are complaining about utility costs.
Oh,
We've
wait.
got people in my area that are saying that the water bills have gone up
Mm-hmm.
about 10, 15%, and they're not using any more than before. We have,
That's just a start. That's just the
yeah,
start. Trust me, and I've said it on this program. You've heard me say it before, Dow. And I was one of the first people to talk to everyone and say buy 10% more food, start saving some money. That inflation is coming, and I'm telling you, wait until October. That's when it's going to hit. They can't help it. It's going to be crazy.
right, and that's actually going to be when the most energy is required for the northern hemisphere because that's when we have to start heating our homes.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're in the summertime, yeah, you want to run the air conditioner, but you don't have to. You could use a fan, or you can find other ways to stay cool, and you don't need to work as hard or use as much energy to stay cool. But once it comes wintertime, you need it for preserving food. You need to keep the lights on because the days are shorter. You have to have it for being able to heat your home so you don't freeze to death. I mean, unless you want to walk around looking like the Michelin Man, you're pretty much stuck with trying to heat your home however you can. That increases the danger of fires. That also increases the strain on all your emergency and first responder infrastructure. It's going to get tough. And the first thing that we have to do as a people is admit that this vocal minority that was feeding us this line that everything was okay and that we didn't have to do anything. That's a problem. We have to admit that problem, and now we have to work harder to try and combat it because they're entrenched. They being people, the progressives, people that want to see this country disappear as it is or as it was and turn into something else, a neo-feudalistic globalist society where only a few people own something and then everybody else is a permanent renter for the rest of their lives.
yeah.
That's not freedom. That's slavery.
Now, let me ask you. Well, one thing, technical question: Are we on speakerphone or are you on just your regular phone?
I am on my Bluetooth at the
Okay,
moment,
that's
so
why.
it's hard to hear that.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
it's a no, that's all right. I just wanted to double check it because it wasn't on my side. I tried to tweak it a little bit.
Okay.
But let me ask you this: It's well, two questions. Two questions. One, now that we know that 19 food processing plants have been burnt down or closed somehow, and we know that there's going to be a food shortage, and we know that they are going around destroying chickens because of the avian flu, and we know inflation is going higher. Let me ask you, have you had even one politician step up and tell you, like I have on this program, to start stocking up on food?
No, the political sphere is silent on that. Basically, you're only getting that kind of advice from independent commentators like yourself, or independent, uh, independent. I don't want to say journalists because they're not really journalists. Tim Pool might be. I mean, he's been talking recently about Chicken City, his project with
Right.
his plant and everything else like that down there. But no, for the most part, you're just everyday people that are generally preparedness minded. Now, I'm not talking about just like, oh no, the nukes are coming, everybody hide under the desk, duck and cover. I'm talking about just people that generally look ahead in case of things like natural catastrophe, like floods or or massive fires or hurricanes and disaster relief. And those types of people are looking at what's happening in the big picture, and they're saying, look, this is bad enough where if you go out today to get groceries, get like 10% more canned goods than you normally would get. Get a little bit more toilet paper if you need it.
Yeah, not panic buying.
Water,
we got to say,
water filter.
yeah, and I got to say, not panic buying, but just a little bit more, like 10% more, just every time you go.
If you go to the store, most people generally only have enough food in anymore. It used to be more. It used to be 2 weeks worth of food, but most people generally now in households only keep about 3 days worth of food on hand at any given time. So if you're going out to the store every week to buy food, instead of buying for 3 days, buy for 7. Instead of buying for 7 days, buy for 2 weeks. Or or go out every week and then buy for an extra 7 days or something like that. Just increase it a little bit, so you're not hoarding everything, but you're preparing, and you cycle through all your food. Anything that is kept behind that is starting to be a little older, make sure that you bring it to the front and you use it. Buy the foods that you're used to eating too. Don't just go out and think, oh, I can buy a 20 case of ramen, but you've never really eaten ramen before in your life, because what you're going to find is that you hate it.
Yeah.
And you're never going to want to see it again, even though you're starving.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you, and it's a tough question. And I want to ask this to any politician. The next politicians I get to speak to, I'm going to be asking them this too. If they're not telling us this, and if they're not willing to go on the record to start telling people the same thing that I've been saying on this show since January, why are we voting for them? Why should we vote for them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, does that make sense?
Yeah, because then it really hammers home the idea that your vote, and this is part of that voter apathy and involvement. It really hammers home the idea that the system doesn't work anymore. It doesn't. People do not have a voice in the way that they are governed, because the government has far outstripped their ability to hold it accountable. And without drastic measures, I will say.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking with a friend of mine several years ago, who works in security for the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. This is when I was still living in Pennsylvania. And I had talked to him about how our area needed some infrastructural improvements, and I was thinking of running for office so that I could go to Harrisburg and that, just one term. I didn't even want to stay in. I was just like, just one term. I want to see if I can secure the funding for my constituents so that we can get this stuff done, because it's ridiculous. We're a poor rural area. We could do some of the work ourselves, but we have no way of doing bigger projects because it's just too small. The town I was living in basically shared the post office with like 2 other towns. That's how small this place was. But they needed like new bridges and a new bridge to get in and out, and there was like another road. He basically stopped me and he said, "You don't want to do that." And I was like, "Well, why not?" And that's what it's for. And he said, "No, that's not how it works. Well, you're going to come in, depending on what party you're going to be in, you're going to get a certain list of demands from the party, and they're going to say, look, if you want this stuff that you're asking for your constituents, you've got to give a little bit to us." And a little bit means you have to basically check off everything that's on that list and say that you're going to vote the way they want.
No.
I had no illusions as to, there was a bunch of give and take that happens in government. I get that. But the fact that it's so blatant that even those that work as support structures for the government understand that that's how it works, it basically, in the mind of a common person, and I'm only making that delineation because we're not all politicians.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the layperson is concerned, you look at that, and what would that remind you of?
No,
And what comes to mind when you hear something like that? Well, I'll do this favor for you if you make sure that this happens. It's a quid pro quo. I'm thinking mafia. I'm
it,
thinking organized crime.
it's kind of like that. It does feel like that, even though the government doesn't define it like that. Although it's in the government's best interest to define it that way. Let me ask you.
Right.
Let me ask you a slightly different question. Just because I want to cover a little ground here, and I'm asking, and this is for anyone listening, so you can type it into the comments. You can call in later. But let me ask you this, Dal. So, another example, and I'm sure we can find this in every city in America. There were 3 people this week. I don't know if you heard about this. 3 people were charged, and this is very important. This happened on, where is it? It was just a couple of days ago, about 3-4 days, April 18th. So 30 guys, all of them in Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow. Well, let me give you the full scenario here. There is a house in a city, Johnson City, that is looking to be condemned. It's a fire hazard. Fire marshal goes and tells everyone they have to be evicted because it's a public safety hazard to live in that house. The guy, one of the residents, one of 8 people in that house, decides to call up members of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, says they're going to evict him because it's racist, and to help him fight. 30 members of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow arrive. They get into a fight with the fire marshal. They get into a fight with police. State troopers get called in. It's a fight with 30 of them against the police, and they're all screaming about it being racist. They get arrested. 3 of their members get arrested and get released on the same day. Again, this isn't me just making this up. This is the news. WNBF is showing, I have it on the screen right now, showing you this because it's bail reform, it's racial justice, as the left likes to call it. Let me ask you, do you feel safer?
No, no, because the very same public safety that they're deciding to try and get rid of a condemned building to be vacated. It's the same public safety structure that they would gladly use to force inoculate every single human being within the state. Think about that. You have they only support the structure when it's convenient to pursue an agenda that fits within their narrative. But the minute they're combating, the minute it pushes against them, like any human being, that makes them uncomfortable, they're going to fight against it. But they don't turn around and think, oh, you know what? That's the same system that we were trying to use just a couple months ago to lock this entire state down and hold everybody hostage.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. It cannot work like that. It is not a sustainable system. You either have the respect of that system that you've created, and it applies equally to everyone, or you don't. And then what you're going to wind up with is a 30-man brawl against police and a fire marshal, and then you have the expectation that they're not going to get some sort of blowback from that. And then when they don't, because of bail reform, because they have people in powerful places that are looking out for their interests as thugs, essentially, and muscle for a political narrative, you have lawlessness. It may be legal, but it's not lawful. And that's something that I think a lot of people have got to learn, is that there's a difference between what is lawful and what is legal.
There's
One
a
can
big
be
difference.
legal without being lawful.
Yeah, there's a massive difference. And that story, like many of the things we're talking about today, they've all been buried. The rest of the news media has already buried this story, moved on. They're not talking about it. They don't want to talk about it. And I think the reason
There
is...
hasn't been a,
Yeah, go
there
ahead.
hasn't been any. I didn't even see the update about the 12-year-old that was shot. But you basically had to tell me that there was an update to that, and then that they were privately, and that she was not out by herself, which that was something that was never made present in the original article. Was she with somebody else, or was she roaming the streets at 10 o'clock at night by herself?
Yeah,
That
she
should be
was.
one of the first things.
You would think. It took us hours after the story broke. It took like 4 hours for them to tell us, oh, yeah, she was with her family, that she was with her parents and she got shot anyway. That's ridiculous.
And
They're trying to bury this story.
right, and would they even answer the question? All right, well, if she was with her parents and she ended up being caught in the crossfire, because that as a kid of 12 years old, what is she doing that would make her a target to be shot? So obviously she's not the target, but she was one of the victims.
Yeah.
So does that mean that one of the parents was the original target, or was the whole family victims because they were between somebody else and a target?
Well, again,
This is stuff that we need to know, because the way the police system is working right now, they'll catch the criminals, they'll throw them back out on the street, and the old people, like Agent Black has said as well, is that it leaves the families open to being their own first responders. The responsibility falls to us, but it's like we have the responsibility to defend ourselves, but we have our hands zip tied behind our backs.
and that's a problem.
That doesn't make you feel safe.
No, and that's what terrifies me, because it's the same Democratic Party in New York State and across this nation, in California, Illinois. I'm pointing them out because they're the big hot spots, and they've put out these bills that say they've tried to pass a bill that says that if you buy a bulletproof vest, they want to make that a crime. They want to make it a crime for you to be able to give yourself, your family, your kids a bulletproof vest. As our cities become,
Yeah, which is a passive defensive system. It's not even an offensive measure.
I understand. No one's ever been killed to death because they wore a bulletproof vest. It's never happened. And yet, they have been trying to pass that. The very same politicians, in this case, we're talking about Democrats and progressives, the very same ones in New York State have been trying. And yeah, I covered this story a year ago. They're trying to pass it every year. It doesn't make sense to me. Let me ask a slightly different question about healthcare. We're talking about kids. So let me ask this. Are you aware that there are 79 children? Now, I have to be very careful how I word this because of the censors that exist on social media. So bear with me. Are you aware that there are 79 children, including 9 of them, in the United States, in the state of Alabama, that have a liver disease similar to hepatitis, although it is not hepatitis, that it is affecting them? They're all 10 years and under. And this is a wave. It's happening in the United Kingdom. It's happening in Scotland. It's happening in the United States. And the only thing that is common amongst these kids that we can tell so far is that they weren't around other kids, like a regular school year, getting colds like normal and building up normal immunities. Conspicuously in the story, which I am showing on the screen right now, all links will be included at the end of the show and in the description, but I'm showing it on screen right now from WHNT News. The only other thing we won't be told is whether they were all vaccinated, as was mandated. But those are the only commonalities that we can find about these children that now have liver diseases. Does that make you fearful for your children, considering how the mandates have been done? And be very careful how you word this, otherwise this channel will disappear.
It doesn't make me fearful, but it makes me question. And let me give you an example.
Sure.
To kind of illustrate this. And this doesn't have to deal with children, but this is a good medical example. I have a relation that, for her entire life, never did any kind of what we consider a vice. No smoking, no heavy drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one one or two glasses of wine a year. Never abused her body, never had any other problems, moved out of the area and went up to Michigan. And while she was in Michigan, she developed stage 2 breast cancer. Okay. Never had a history of it before. Never had any indications within our family history that you would ever consider that she would be a candidate for. When they were trying to pin down what might have caused it, they couldn't come up with anything, or at least nothing that they were willing to say. However, there have been conclusive studies that show that the sandy soil of Michigan is heavily fertilized with chemical fertilizers. Now, that's really the only way that they can get the food to grow up there, because the glaciers pretty much pulverize any kind of soil that is up there. So they have to do stuff like that in order to grow food. They gave all of like maybe 3 words in a paragraph on their diagnosis of the causes of this breast cancer in this person. They never had a history of it before in the family, and should not, by her entire lifestyle, have ever been a candidate for transplant. What are you going to think? If that's really the only tie that you can see that would even lend itself to an explanation of the origination of something as devastating as a cancer, what would you think? It's the same thing with a symptom with a disease that is shared commonly between people. Like, if you're going to look at what may be the issue, you may not even be able to pin it down to that, either because of politics or whatever. But if that's the common thread, then there's a pretty good chance that, barring any other plausible explanation, there's a pretty good chance you should probably defend yourself against that. Prevent it.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say in this particular case, it isn't fear. It would be more like, I'd be questioning people surrounding this commonality and saying, hey, can we do something about it? If we can study how pigeons are more promiscuous on cocaine, why can't we do an investigative study to find out if this commonality that seems to be shared between just this group of people actually is the issue? Because if they investigate it isn't, then they're vindicated. But if they investigate and they see that it actually is a problem, now you have to fix it.
Yeah. Well, let me do this. I want to make sure people have a chance to speak about all these issues. Was there a final thought that you had there, Dal?
The only thought I would like to convey is that you have to have the what to hold on to your freedom, and that requires that you have the power of knowledge. So you need to be able to make yourself more knowledgeable. And the gentleman that was speaking in Albany about Thomas Paine's common sense made a really good point. You need, if you have a wish to preserve freedom in the United States the way it was meant to be and the way this country was founded, you need to continuously have people reading the documentation that surrounds it and the documentation itself. It needs to be taught. It needs to be encouraged. And it needs to be shown how to be relevant. I do it with my own kids. I don't wait for the school to teach anybody anything about that. I think it's important enough to know that you have to look at the founders, the time in which they lived, and you also have to take into account that they wrote the document based at the core of values of human nature and what would be successful and what would not. We've seen the social experiments. We see they don't work. The only thing that really worked is what the founders put down in the documents, the constitutions, and the supporting arguments both for and against that surround that in that body of work that is the ancillary texts that go with the Constitution.
Yep.
Talking about Madison's documents, talking about Adams' documents, Jefferson, Washington, Franklin, all of them. Yet you have to, if you're going to be an American and you want freedom, you have to understand on what it's based on.
No.
Even go back as far as Locke and common law, the birth of common law. So those are also important. that actually is part of the ancillary documents. And I would suggest that if you want a place to start, if people feel daunted about learning what this country was founded on, Hillsdale College.
Yeah, Hillsdale College is good.
Hillsdale College runs a YouTube series that's basically just short lessons on the Constitution, done by constitutional professors that are I wouldn't say they're lawyers, but they're very well versed in it. And they help break it down, and they ask the right questions, and they get you to think about it. And that's where I would suggest people start.
No, that's
you have to, but that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Definitely. All right, Dal. Let me see if there's anyone else who wants to speak about some of the things we've been talking about. I thank you for being part of the audience. Thank you for catching up with us today, even though we started a little
Every
bit late.
Sunday, man. You got to stream on.
All right.
Take care.
All right, Dal. All right, folks. So just like Dal, you too can call into the program and let your voice be heard, whether you agree or disagree with anything we're talking about. If there is a news story that I'm not speaking about, let me know. You can call in, tell us about it. I'll bring it up. We'll talk about it. I'm happy to talk about anything that you want to speak about, because this program is about your voice, about hearing you. We do this every week. Yes, this week I started a little bit late because I was out in Albany, and I was doing live streams there, but I am here every week. As long as I have the money, as long as the lights are on, I'm doing the live stream, and I'm going to do it with you. I don't always have the money, but as long as I have it, I'm going to be here every week with you. By the way, I want to show you the racism that's going on in America today. I'm going to show you the racism, and I'm going to show you what Dal was speaking about as well. I want you to see something. There was a protest 2 days in Albany. The police knew about it and were peacefully escorting over 400 people. Over a mile of vehicles were traveling through downtown Albany. I know people who are driving in Albany. I know they know about this. But here's the thing. If you look up protest in Albany right now, it's on the screen right now. And I'm going to show you. You just saw me update this. Okay, where's the story? Climate can't wait. They're protesting. There's a protest. They're talking about the left. Okay, groups protest Syracuse police and that's the left. Okay, 1,000 New Yorkers from Harlem. What? That's the left. Okay. There's one article from 2 days ago. That's before the event, not the event itself. But if you notice, 4 weeks ago, 2 days ago, there's not one article, not one major news media source that actually covered 400 fellow Americans going out and saying, hey, the government's gone too far. Politicians pay attention to us. They don't want you to know about this. If you look up People's Convoy, because that was under protest in Albany, People's Convoy, what is the news? And this is the latest. Again, I'm refreshing it live with you on April 24th at 6:01 a.m. p.m. Eastern Standard Time. San Francisco, they're talking about some kids throwing eggs at the People's Convoy because people were actually talking. Guess what? That didn't happen in Albany. Not once. 3 people were upset. That's it. That's because they flipped us off. They gave us the bird. That was the worst that we saw. And we had dozens of people who actually supported us in their cars and standing on the sides of the streets. And I have video of this to show it to you. It's not just my word. But look at this. Pelting with the eggs. Exile. They have Exile Cove. Look at this. They're looking at every negative aspect. They're talking about Pennsylvania. They're talking about California. They've got stories going back and back a month ago, 3 weeks ago. They don't want to tell you. No one is covering this because they don't want you to know. Just like in Canada, they demonized the truckers in Canada because it didn't fit the narrative. It wasn't the left-leaning message. And if you disagree, let me know. But guess who was there? Here's a black man. Here's the left and their dichotomy. This is a black man speaking up for his rights and his beliefs and his politics. He's a candidate. Guess what? They didn't want to cover him. I'll show you another guy. Hey, do you know this guy? It's Larry Sharp, a friend of the channel, a personal friend of mine. He's a candidate. He's running for governor. They didn't cover it. They didn't want to tell you about him. They didn't let his voice get heard. How about, and I think we have, here's another person. There's a woman. Remember, the left, they're here for black people. They want black people's voices to be heard. They want women's voices to be heard. This is one of the speakers at the event. That's a woman. And yes, she did identify herself as a woman. And I can see she's a woman. She's a human female. Guess an adult human female. That's a woman. We didn't need a biologist to figure that out amongst all 400 of us. And she's there. They are denying her. So is the major news media being sexist and racist because they won't tell you about this? Because if I guarantee you, if we were on the left talking about climate change and they didn't show it, the answer would be on Twitter would be filled with how racist it is for the major news media not to talk about it. So why is it different when it's on, if it's the center, if it's libertarians, if it's Republicans and conservatives that are saying the government went too far? Why are they doing that? I just wanted you to see this to understand that there is a bias. It is real and it is enormous. And it is a massive, massive problem. And I want you to see there was also, and in particular, and here's the video. And again, all links will be in the conversation in the discussion at the end of the show. You see in the description, Dow was speaking about this gentleman who was talking about your rights with the IRS, your rights for your children to be taught the Constitution. It is actually part of the New York State Constitution. It is a requirement of New York State in education to actually teach kids about the Constitution, to teach them about their rights. We haven't done it since like 1956, but it's part of our requirements. It's part of the law. It's just something that the unions and some of the progressives, they don't care. They want you to be dumb. I don't. And even if you don't agree with me, I want you educated enough to know about this. That's why I want to make sure you hear about this. And you can tell me, Mike, I disagree. I don't care, but I want you to know. Same reason why I want you to know about what's going on with the hepatitis outbreak. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. I am quoting the news, WHNT News out of Alabama. They're talking about it. The CDC is talking about it. The United Kingdom and Scotland are speaking about it. I'm not making this up. I'm just giving you the information. I want you to make up your mind, and I want you to tell your politicians to be held accountable. Because if we don't, this stuff only gets worse. It only gets worse. And by the way, and if you don't like hearing about it from, say, Alabama in the United States, guess what? You can go to Deutsche Welle, which is the German news agency, a major media source, and they're talking about it as well. So you can go to them and look at it. And if the censors are pissed off at me, guess what? I'm quoting international news sources, and Deutsche Welle is the news of Germany, so they can get off my butt about that and stop trying to hammer this channel for telling you the truth. I'm just upset about these things because you're being denied. There is a systemic obfuscation of the news, of what's happening around you. They're denying people to know details about when a 12-year-old gets killed by some crazed criminal. They're denying you the fact that Antifa is trying to intimidate people for being able to speak, even when the news isn't willing to tell you about it. We've got people like these members of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow who are attacking police officers and being released on the same day. And the news media doesn't want you to know about it because if you did, you'd be pissed off. Instead, they want to tell you, hey, guess what? You can go to we need to take in Ukrainian refugees because that's going to solve the problem at the border. We had 5,000 Ukrainians that entered the United States at the southern border illegally. They didn't ask for asylum. They tried to cross the border along with 221,000 illegal aliens. But the problem isn't the 218,000 illegal aliens that tried to enter America at our southern border. No, the problem is the 5,000 Ukrainians running away from a war. And now they've fixed it. So you don't have to worry about the southern border anymore. They fixed the problem. It was just a couple of Ukraine refugees. So the story's over, right? No. The story's starting because it's about 218,000 illegal aliens entering our nation, and no one in our government is answering the problem. No one is fixing this. They're just trying to gloss over the story. Just like they're doing with the People's Convoy, just like the protest in Albany. And this is insulting, it's terrifying, it's bad. We need to call that out. I mean, that's the answer. And if you think, here's CBS News also talking about it. It's a sponsorship program. It's going to help the Ukraine refugees. Fantastic. I'm not telling you that's a good or bad thing. You know what I'm telling you? There are 218,000 other illegal aliens. There have been 79,000 children. I'll say it again, 79,000 children who have undergone child abuse. They were sent by themselves on a 1,000-mile trek, if not further, to go to the American southern border alongside sex slaves and drug gangs to be ditched in our deserts if they make it here. That's child abuse. That's the southern border being wide open, and politicians don't want to talk about it, or at least most of them don't, because it's bad and you might not vote for them. Well, guess what? It's a problem because they won't do anything about it, and they don't deserve to get our votes if they won't speak about this. If you think I'm wrong, 607-242-1582. If you think any politician who will not talk about the Americans who are abandoned in Afghanistan, the Americans abandoned in the Ukraine, the children who are being abused by crossing our southern border because we have an open border policy, if you think that I am wrong, or you think that a politician should be reelected because they won't talk about these problems, please tell me why I'm wrong. I ask you for that. And I ask any politician that if they have an answer for this, if they have a way to fix this, to call into the program. I will give them as much time as they want to answer this question. But if they call in, they must answer this question. They must answer this question. They can take as long as they want, but they won't be allowed to dodge. They won't be able to run around circles. I know this game as well as any politician. I know the political spin as well as anyone in the media. I've been doing this 15 years. I know how the game's played. If you try and dodge the question on me, I will call you out. But I will give you as much time as you need to explain your side of why you think I am wrong in saying that these are crimes and they are tearing America apart. You can tell me whatever it is, as long as you don't dodge the question. I'll give you as much time as you want if you're a candidate. Any Democrat, it's free advertising. Call on in. But I think it's important. Now, there are some comments here. I know Asian Black and Dal are talking a little bit here. But, you know, America shouldn't be an open door policy. There's no reason for that. It's the same thing. Just because you break into America, that you commit a crime to enter America. Just like if you commit the crime to enter the United Kingdom or into France or Australia or Canada. Hell, if you tried to get into China, it's illegal. It is a crime. We're not supposed to say, well, it's okay. As long as you have the right color of skin, as long as you have the right sexual preference, we're going to let you in and we'll pay for everything. I'm sorry, it's not our responsibility. Yeah, but my country sucks. I don't care. That's not my problem. I know that sounds so harsh. No, it's not harsh. Go and fix your own country. If you ask us to help you fix your country, okay, we can do that maybe. But it's not our responsibility. We got to fix our country first. We got to fix the United States. The UK has to fix the United Kingdom. France has to fix France. Germany definitely needs to fix Germany. They got a lot of problems with refugees. They have a lot of problems with illegal aliens. Let's fix these countries first. If you have a country that's absolutely horrible, like Venezuela, because you voted in a communist and that communist took away your food and has you starving, you know what? Vote them out. Do something. Fix your country. That doesn't mean you have an open door into my country or that I am obligated to help and fix you, to take care of your life. I'm trying to fix my own. I'm poor and I have enough problems. I don't need to take on the problems of the rest of the world too. It may sound harsh. It's true. It's honest and it's fair. Just like I'm not obligated to pay for the student loans of somebody in college. You went to college. You took out the loan. You decided to have a useless degree. We covered on this program recently. There are over 80 different jobs that pay well over $50,000 a year that don't need any degree whatsoever. You believe in green energy? Fantastic. Become a wind turbine technician. It pays $55,000 a year. Doesn't need a single degree. Here you are. You can help the earth if you think that's what it takes. You believe in green energy, which doesn't work according to Michael Moore. Again, my source is from the left, Planet of the Humans. If you believe in it, fantastic. Go out there, because if you aren't a wind turbine engineer, specialist, if you can't fix the wind turbines, there is no green energy. It won't happen. And you don't need a college degree for that. There you go. I just solved your problem. You can do green energy and you don't need to take on college debt. Go get that job. Not my responsibility if you decide, no, I want to have a degree in lesbian interpretive dance. Yes, colleges are teaching that. It's not my responsibility if you go to college so you can watch porn. Yes, there was a college course where you could go and watch porn, and that was considered a part of the accreditation. It was a legit class to watch porn. And you're asking me to pay your college loans off so that you can be expert at interpretive lesbian dance or watching porn. I'm sorry, those aren't careers. They don't help America. They don't help the world. No. I'm more likely to say, let's spend the money to teach a kid how to build and repair a wind turbine than I am to say, yeah, let's pay off the loan for the kid who's taking classes on porn and taking classes on interpretive lesbian dance. I'm sorry, those aren't real world jobs. It's not reality. If you're trying to get a degree in intersectionality, critical race theory, that's not reality. It doesn't help America. It doesn't help you. It's not a real job. Sorry, you don't get me to pay your loans. I'm not paying for that. My taxes don't need to go to that. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why. If you're a student or you have a child that is a student and they have loans and you think that they deserve to have their loans paid off, tell me why. I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to pick on you. I'm asking you for a legit answer. Why do you think I should pay my taxes, should go and pay for that kid? By the way, I may be poor, but I own a business, which means I pay taxes every year. I don't get money back. I don't get refunds. I've gotten 3 refunds in my life. I'm paying taxes. So yes, Literally, you want to have your student loans wiped off. That's coming out of my taxes. Please tell me why I should pay for your taxes. And by the way, my question I'm going to ask you when you try and tell me that, I'm also going to ask you, are you going to pay for my mortgage? Are you going to pay for me to fix my house or to pay my internet bill? Because that's a fair exchange, at least. But if I have to one-sided pay off your bill, you better have a really good reason why I should do it. And we need more people in America having that conversation and asking that question and saying, please justify that to me. It's the reason why we're looking at Florida and Florida saying, well, Disney shouldn't have to pay taxes. Disney should be protected. Why? Why? Because they're a big company? I thought the left hated big companies. Listen to all these people. Remember, how many videos, how many times have you heard BLM, all of the far left, they've been telling you corporations are evil. They're just greedy. They're terrible. But they're also telling you, but protect Disney. Disney deserves to get a tax break. Disney needs to be protected. Wait a minute. I thought the left was telling us that corporations are evil and that they should all go to hell. And now they're telling us that Disney, which is a massive corporation that owns a huge part of the news media, that they're different though. They're different because they like the left. So it's not about whether or not these companies are greedy. It's whether or not they support progressive ideas. I mean, let's be honest. That's the reality. That's the truth. It's about teaching our kids. If a company says that, like Coca-Cola says, if you're white, you need to be re-educated to be able to work at Coca-Cola. If you're white, you need to be re-educated because of critical race theory and its applications, because critical race theory. So they're on the side of the left. Coca-Cola, they're okay to have profits. Disney's making movies that are unrealistic, that no one wants to go watch. No, did you see the Eternals? No, you didn't. Did you see Moon Knight? No, you didn't. Let's be honest. You're not seeing these movies. No one wants to pay for this stuff. But yet, we're supposed to give them more money so they can make more movies and more TV channels, more news media telling us, oh, no, but you have to be progressive, even though no one wants it because they're progressive. But if you have a company like Smith & Wesson, well, hey, if you have a company like POW, P-O-W-W, on the NASDAQ, oh, well, hey, that's entirely different. No. Those guys are just greedy. Please tell me what's the difference. Besides politics, tells me what's different. Because I think I'm going to hear dead air. And the left can't justify it. That's why they don't get asked the question. It's why they won't answer the question. Because the answer is they're making it up as they go. It's about power. It's about politics. It's about you obeying. And I'm against that. Again, if you think I got it wrong, if you think I don't understand, I'm more than happy to listen to you and tell you, okay, I'm happy. But we got things that are going on like this college. I know no one heard about the University of Wisconsin. In the University of Wisconsin, the interim president right now, James Henderson, he resigned. Do you know why he resigned? Because the guy who's going to replace him isn't black or a woman. You think I'm kidding? I'm serious. I'm going to have the links to this in the show. Hang on 1 second. Hello, and thank you for calling in. Give me 1 second, and then I'll let you speak. So, folks, you're seeing on the screen, this is his letter. He's upset because they didn't hire someone who's black or a woman. Now, there were candidates, but the person who got hired isn't black or a woman, so he's pissed off, and he's resigning. This is stupid. This is stupid, folks. Okay, so caller, thank you for calling in. This is your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to have you on. And may I ask, what is your first name?
Yeah, this is Jason.
Hey, Jason. Good to have you on the program. What's going on?
Yeah, just you're talking, pretty much about the selective cronyism that the left likes to do. They like to pay for their corporate, hammer, and pretty much destroy industries which they don't, believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Disney, situation, I mean, that was interesting because that was something I actually had to look up and to learn more about exactly how that whole, tax zone and the way that was built, which honestly, when I looked at the history and saw what actually Disney did to acquire that property in Florida, I was actually pretty impressed with it. I thought it was actually a pretty good business move. But, throughout, the history, if you look at now what Disney has and the amount of power they have, as a corporation, and to be able to, pretty much not to be touched, by taxes, is just it is pretty amazing how that works out. But we do have an interest. I mean, Florida does have an interesting situation. I mean, they're not lacking, companies wanting to own a business there,
Right.
or to to move to that area, and so giving, tax handouts and freebies, to corporations or businesses is not something they need to do to draw in anybody. So, it's really the shoes on the other foot when it comes to that area. Like, if you recall what happened in New York State when AOC, decided that,
Amazon?
she tried to do whatever she possibly could to make sure that Amazon didn't
Yeah.
actually move into her district. I
Mhm.
don't even know if it was her district actually, but she didn't want to do that, and it was a matter of the same policy that now is pretty much being revoked from Disney. Is just that there's certain subsidies and tax breaks being given to a major corporation, to incentivize them to actually either move or to stay in that area, and that's what pretty much Disney has at this point. And that same policy, AOC was just outright, against. She could not have that happen. But meanwhile, you have the left and the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders and the far radical left completely changing their policy stance when it comes to Disney on this particular issue. Um, and this extends to a number of different policies which we are pretty much being punished for at this point, and one of them is just their taxation and hostility towards the energy policies on oil companies. I know that last week we were recently talking about how the Biden administration appeared to try to say that they were changing their stance on opening leases, more leases up to on federal lands, to the oil companies. And what they actually did, which was interesting, they might have actually increased the auctioning of these leases, but what they also did, I think they increased the taxation of the gas and oil products now being produced on those leased properties, making it less profitable for those, leases to even be leased to them.
Well,
So,
there's another trick to that, which should be
what's the
mentioned.
other trick that he did?
Yes, they increased the amount of lands that are available to be purchased. You still can't get the permit to build a road to get to that land.
Oh, that too, yeah.
You still can't get to the land to be able to test it, but you can get it. So now they can go out and again, it's about hiding the truth. It's about saying, okay, look, we have leases. There's now 10,000 leases. We've done our job. Well, you forgot to mention they need a permit to build a road to get there in the first place. And then they added the tax on top of it, which says, no, yeah, you can do it, but we really don't want you to. And nothing says, don't do this, other than I'm going to tax the hell out of you. And by the way, there's no road. So if you want to do it, backpack an entire oil rig over there and see if you can get it that way. And carry the oil by hand back over the mountains so that you can get it to where we need it here in America to help our energy prices. That's dishonesty that's going on.
No, the Biden administration, has done everything in its power, and the Democrats actually for years, going back, to Obama, uh, trying to dismantle this. The irony was though is that the energy independence that actually came, well, and the production that came, um, and actually pretty much saved the Biden, not Biden, but the Obama administration. My belief was is that the energy industry that was developed, throughout the years that Bush was president, carried over to actually lift up Obama's, because Obama's policies were completely contradictory to what Bush had done when it came to the gas industries, and he started clamping down immediately on it. But at that point, that the industry had actually grown so much that the supply was increased, and it actually lowered prices, and there was pretty good infrastructure. But the problem is that the policies that they I should say regulations that they implemented, along with the situation, that we currently had with COVID throughout Trump, unfortunately, because during Trump administration we were practically we would be called energy independent. But the problem was is that those same policies that Obama had were re-implemented under Biden,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, the industry was crushed from COVID, and you're in a situation now where new money and new resources being put into developing new wells and infrastructure. There's no money wants to go into that industry, because the Biden administration, along with the Treasury Department, and even even the IRS, they're all targeting these these industries to make them unprofitable in the United States. And so the only place that you can actually make money or even produce or have a guarantee on the risk of actually getting any sort of profit from your investment would to be invested in an oil rig in Russia, or in possibly Ukraine, or anywhere else other than the United States, because the United States and the Biden administration and the Democrats have made sure that we are now, when it comes to fuel, as far as oil, when it comes to gas, they want to make sure that we are going to be dependent on other countries, for our for our fuel.
You know what? You know what's the best answer? I want to hear. Do you know what the best answer for if you want to be renewable energy, you want the cheapest, cleanest energy possible? Do you know what the answer is?
Yeah, nuclear.
There you go. See, everybody knows it's nuclear. You know what they won't allow? Nuclear.
Nuclear.
But they will do, and instead of trying, they're punishing the oil companies. They won't let us build nuclear, but ethanol. And I think I spoke with you personally about this, about ethanol.
Somebody talked in the program here too.
I think I did a little bit. And just for those who may not have seen that last week, ethanol, the reason why they're going to ethanol now, and you haven't heard about that for about a decade, is because ethanol kills the ocean. It is a fact. There have been scientific reports on it left and right. We've known this since 2012 at least, that the more ethanol you make, the byproduct of it goes into the Gulf of Mexico. It takes all of the oxygen, strips it out of the ocean. It's called deoxygenation. Takes out all the oxygen. The plankton, the plants, the fish, everything dies. The reason why you haven't heard about ethanol in a decade is because it's deadly to the planet. And now Joe Biden's saying, don't worry, we don't need oil and gas. We need ethanol. And we need more ethanol. The less gas you have, the more ethanol you need, the more it kills our oceans. And they still won't let us build a nuclear plant or use natural gas. It's insane.
Yeah, and the thing is though is irregardless of whether we have nuclear, for electrical power, we still need natural resources, because you need natural gas and you need oil to produce fertilizers, and fertilizers are necessary, for obviously for the foods that we grow in this country. And right now, with the situation in Russia, you've got they produce, I think, about 25% of the world's fertilizer.
Yes.
And now we're we're stuck with them, as far as that productivity. So we have no choice in the matter. So we've got to become, on certain resources, it's a necessity for the United States basically to not be impeded by other countries ability. So we've got to be sustainable, and the main problem is that there is no reason why we can't produce in this country, and compete, because it's about competition, really. Because the thing is you have investors in this country who are willing to put money into something if they can make money from it. The problem is that you can't do that in the oil and gas industry in our country with the Democrats' policies, because if you invest anything, they can, on a hair, can change a policy and basically bankrupt the company that you actually have investments in. And not to mention the fact, though, is a lot of these investments are actually made with, through stocks, which would be individuals' pensions funds. And a new thing that the Biden administration is actually putting through is they are putting through, policies where you have to have an EPA score, of the how green your portfolio is for certain companies. And so they're actually making it hard for even pension funds to actually be focused on producing profit for the company,
Mm-hmm.
and more they're focused on the green energy and the policies like that. Hey, Mike, I'm gonna have to
No,
tell you. So
that's
I
right.
got a situation at the house here.
No, that's okay. Take care of the
All right.
family.
All right. Yep. Bye.
All right, folks. So just like you heard from so many people, you can call in. We're happy to hear your voice. We're happy to hear anything and everything you have to say. I know that the chat stream showing the chat is down, but we are getting people who are commenting from YouTube, from Facebook, Twitter. We are getting comments in, and I am reading them off as I can. You can see in the video, if you go, you'll be able to see it in the descriptions to find this for yourself. There's a lot that's being talked about, and I can see many people. Agent Black out of the UK has been talking about a lot of things, including Assange user, and Dal and Jason were speaking, and I know Hot Chicks is watching, so, and Pixie is watching. So there are so many who are watching, and I thank each and every one of you. I know that this was brought up earlier today. You heard about this guy, and I think we all did, back on the 22nd, 2 days ago, Friday. We heard about the guy, man sets himself on fire. Sets himself on fire at the Supreme Court. And I would tell you that I said, when I first heard about this, I said it's a guy from the left. It's a nut job. That this guy burned himself. He's not a Tibetan monk. No, this is just some crazy guy who did this because, oh my God, America isn't woke enough. Disney is being persecuted for trying to teach 5-year-olds about sex, to teach 5-year-olds about sexuality when they don't even know how to do 2 times 2. Okay, this is what we get from the left. He set himself on fire. The story at the time, he's from Colorado. We learned yesterday that he is from Colorado. He set himself on fire. And here's some of the funny stuff that you find out about that. Nobody knows why he does it. Nobody knows why he did it. This is coming from, this is USA Today. They have no idea. Won't tell you why he did it. This is going to the New York Post. Set himself on fire. Story from the 22nd, 3 hours after the event. We don't know why he did it. What we do know is that someone else was shooting a gun in D.C. So much for gun control, so much for ghost guns, so much for magazine bans. Guy killed, he actually killed 4 people and disappeared. And a 12-year-old child was killed in D.C. as well. Gun control, there you go. But here's the thing. This is a story from right now. This is April 24th. It was updated 2:29 p.m. And in this story about this guy from Colorado, 50-year-old guy, killed himself. You know what we don't know? Anything. We don't know why he did it. We don't know anything about him. What we do know is that a 12-year-old girl was shot by a gunman and they don't know where he is. They're changing the story. They don't want you to focus on this. Why are they telling us in a story about a Boulder man that set himself on fire in Washington, D.C.? Why is the story dedicated? And they're finishing up telling you about a 12-year-old girl who was shot by a gunman that has not been released. 4 people killed. Why are they mixing these stories? Why are they distracting you from this guy who killed himself? Because I guarantee, I am very sure he's a progressive. They don't want you to realize that the most dedicated people to the progressive ideology are nut jobs. Nut jobs that are willing to kill themselves, not because of a religion, not because the world is terrible, but because you aren't listening to them, because you're not doing what they say. That's what I think happened there. And I have yet to see a single news story come out about this to tell you otherwise. And as we know, and as I have shown you, when the news media has a story that they don't want you to think about, that they don't want you to hear about, well, they will bury the story. Protest in Albany? Oh, no, don't worry about that. Don't talk about a protest in Albany. Talk about kids throwing eggs. Even though across the country, most people have support, because in capitals around the nation, it was something that was well received. Even though there is video online, as we have shown you, no, they don't want to tell you that it's going well. They don't want you to know that it's okay. They want you to hear every negative story they can come up with because they want to program you. And they don't want to tell you about the guy who killed himself in Washington, D.C., because they don't want you to know that being a progressive does not improve your life, does not make things better. And if you disagree with me, again, just like I keep saying, you're more than happy to call in. By the way, you still haven't heard from Josh Riley. He still hasn't sent us a message. And I know Josh watches this program from time to time. It's just, come on, Josh, tell us why we should vote for you. Tell us why we should vote for you. Meanwhile, what the left is telling us is, here's Rebecca Parson, who's from the left, and she, like many people on the left, she's running in Washington 6. She's telling you, hey, you need a $30 an hour minimum wage. Every small business owner that watches this program, every small business owner that you know of, ask them how many of their employees they can pay $30. Ask McDonald's how many people they can afford to pay $30 an hour. Then ask them, how much is a burger going to cost me if you pay all your employees $30 an hour? Ask your dry cleaner. Go out and ask your bartender. Ask the owner of the bar. Go out and ask your local grocery store, how much is it going to cost if a cashier is going to get paid $30 an hour? Ask them, how much is everything going to cost me? And this is their answer. And I'm showing it to you right here. It's right here, black and white. It's from Twitter. The link will be in the description at the end of the show. Saying, we got to get $30 an hour. You deserve $30 an hour. We're going to wipe out your college debt, and we're going to pay you $30 an hour to be a cashier, a job that doesn't require a degree at all. You're going to get paid $30 an hour, better than electricians. You're going to get paid better than carpenters and people who actually build America. You're going to get paid better than them to be a cashier or the fry guy at McDonald's. By the way, inflation is getting close to 15%, but don't think about that. Your energy, just like Jason was mentioning, is going up. You're going to pay about double for your electric bill. Remember, Obama, we must necessarily skyrocket your energy. That's what they need to do, but they're going to pay you $30 an hour. You're going to be in poverty. It's ridiculous, folks. And yes, Dal, you're right. It's like this is imaginary money. They think there's no cost to this. They think they can do this forever. But it's one of the things that's making inflation as high as it is. It's because they're spending money stupid. And yeah, I can understand. Some kid in college who has college debt is going, pay off my college debt, and give me $30 an hour to be a cashier, to be the fry guy over at McDonald's so I can play video games and get legal marijuana all day long, and you're going to pay and you're going to take care of all that? Oh yeah, I'm voting for you. No one's thinking about, and what happens when you do that? How many businesses will close? How much is the price of food and electricity and everything you buy? How high is that going to go if we listen to these progressive ideas, if we follow this social experiment, an experiment that has failed miserably at every single turn, everywhere that we look? What we have seen, what does that social experiment get us? It gets us 30 guys from the far left attacking the police because a safety check is being done, and people are being told that they can't live in a house that's a fire hazard. That's what the experiment from the left gets us. That's what progressive leaders of tomorrow get us. It's sad and it's sick. Progressive leaders of tomorrow, the far left, might as well say Antifa, could be saying BLM, same difference. Come on, folks. And I'm not telling you that, I want to make it clear. You know, by the way, I love and appreciate each and every one of you. If you've been watching the program, you've been listening, maybe you've heard something interesting, something you didn't know about before, you found it, maybe you think it's funny or entertaining. I thank you, each and every one of you, for watching the program. I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And definitely leave me your comments. Tell me what you think, whether you agree or you disagree, as long as it's respectful. I'm not trying to turn you into a Republican. I'm not trying to turn you into a conservative. I'm not asking you to be a libertarian. I'm not telling you to change your political party. I'm just saying, let's hold these politicians accountable. Let's make sure they answer our questions. Let's make sure we ask the right questions. And let's not get sucked into these daydreams of, if you're going to pay him $30 an hour, why not make it $50? Why not pay everyone $100 an hour? It doesn't matter. It's just money. It just falls out of trees. There's no consequence. Are you kidding me? You think there's no consequence? We might as well pay everyone $100 an hour. Hell, pay them $1,000 an hour. If you're saying that, what's the difference? There isn't one, because it's unrealistic. Because you're turning your money into monopoly money. You're taking away the freedom of people, and you're giving them this platitude of happiness. You're giving them this what's the word I'm looking for? You're appealing to the base nature of human beings, and you're doing that at the cost of everything that is substantive and important. It's miserable. And I can't stand that this is happening to us. There is a reason why we have seen things like when Chris Wallace left Fox News. He said, Fox News is too mean. I don't like Fox News. I'm going to leave Fox News. He's going to CNN Plus because he's going to be a star, because everyone wants to see what CNN has to say. And CNN closed in 30 days. People know when you're selling them crap. They know that the progressive woke ideology doesn't work. It doesn't work in the movies. The woke movies fail. It doesn't work in TV shows. The woke TV shows fail, like Halo. Failure. These things flop, and they know it. They try and get you to go to CNN Plus, and the public overwhelmingly say, I don't want it. I don't want to pay for that. I don't believe in that. It's obvious that there's no credibility there. None. And even when you get people who are supposed to be popular, like Chris Wallace, these guys turn around and tell you, no, you just don't understand. It's good. It's good for you. No, it's not. It's just not. Oops, sorry. Had that running again. And that's the thing. No one's watching. User asks, who's watching at CNN? Nobody. But here's the thing. CNN Plus, there's no difference between them and MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. Do you notice that almost every single source that we use on this program is a left source? We try to almost never provide right-leaning sources, and we almost never show them by themselves. If I show you something from the right, I'm almost always going to show you something from the left to confirm it or to give you a contrast. Almost every single source that we use is a left-leaning source so that you can understand that this isn't just me saying it because I'm a Republican and I'm a conservative. No, it's because I'm an American citizen and I am concerned because when I look at the evidence that even the left can't hide, we see how this stuff fails and how it's destroying America and taking away your freedom at every single step. Every single step. They love it, and user has been banned says he loves the videos with all the networks when they say that freedom, free speech is dangerous to our networks, that to our democracy, to our republic, that Elon Musk is the danger to free speech, as we have the CEO of Twitter tell us that the First Amendment doesn't apply, that he will not enforce freedom of speech on Twitter. That's a fact. It's a direct quote. But Elon Musk is the bad guy because he wants you to be able to speak. On my way back today from the People's Convoy in Albany, where it seems that me and a few other YouTubers are the only people who are actually telling you about the news that's affecting your state and affecting your community. When I was riding back, and by the way, I need to say thank you to Rich Chiavelli. I need to say thank you to American Fireworks and Displays because they did fantastic work. They're great guys. The only reason I was able to attend and to provide the coverage that the major news media refused to actually provide to you. They want you in the dark. The only reason why I was able to get that live coverage is because Rich Chiavelli and American Fireworks Display, they did a great thing. They provided me the opportunity to go to this, to be able to get up there, to get back, to take care of my room. They were fantastic. They did such a wonderful favor to this channel to be able to provide you the news unbiased. They have no control over anything that we did. Video I took is my video. Photos I took are my photos. The interviews I did were on me. They had nothing to do with any of that. They just made sure that I could get there so that you could see the reality that the rest of the news media absolutely will not discuss. They will not show it to you. They will not tell you unless they can demonize you because they want you to obey, because they do not want you to have a voice. And that terrifies me. That terrifies me. And folks, you can see the video for yourself. You can listen to the candidates that were speaking. You can agree with them or not. You can vote for them or not. That's up to you. I'm not here to tell you. See, unlike a progressive, I'm not here to tell you what you should feel. I'm not here to tell you what you're supposed to think because of whatever checkbox you fit. I don't care. I have an audience that's international. You're part of my audience. You can, and many people who are watching this, you're not Americans. You're not in America. You may be in another country. You may be in a different state. You're definitely probably in a different city. And that's okay. Because I don't care whether you're gay or straight, white or black or Hispanic or Asian or keep going down the list. I don't care if you're tall, you're short, you're skinny, you're fat. I don't care. I don't care if you're a woman or a man or some other whatever. You could be a toaster. I could care less. All I know is you deserve to be free. Your voice deserves to be heard. You deserve the right to protect yourself. These are the foundations of the freedom of America that is so important, so powerful, so rare that we have millions of people waiting in a line for a decade to get into America. That we have 221,000 people a month entering America through the southern border as a crime. That we have people sending 79,000 children by themselves. Those are the ones that survive the trip, sending them to get to America because America is that great. Every time you hear a progressive, every time you hear someone on the news like Joy Reid that tells you America's evil and racist and terrible, you know what I want you to do? I want you to tell them, then why are people sending their kids 1,000 miles, committing child abuse to get that kid to come to America so that we can take care of them for them? If America's so terrible, why aren't they sending those kids over to China or over to Cuba or Venezuela, North Korea, Iran, over to the Soviet Union, Russia? Why are they not sending them? They're not sending the kids to Canada. They're not sending the kids to all these other countries. They're sending them to America. If we're so terrible, we're so racist, why are they sending their kids that they love here at the risk of death, which is child abuse? Absolutely, it's child abuse. But they're willing to risk their children's lives, to abuse them and scar them, to be able for that kid to be able to be in America and to grow up in this nation, either in the shadows as an illegal alien or because the government takes care of them. You can't tell me this is a horrible, systemic, racist nation and tell me that people are sending their kids through that kind of horror story to get to America every single day, every month. Thousands of them. You can't tell me America is evil and racist and terrible and tell me that this is the #1 destination of children being sent to from around the world. They're not sending their kids to Venezuela. They're not sending their kids to China. They're not sending them to any socialist nation you can name. They're sending them to America. I think we're better than they're trying to tell us it is. And the only reason they would tell you that America is terrible, that America is somehow screwed up or bad, is because they're trying to hide from you the reality of how great America is. And they don't want you to notice how bad the politicians are or how crazy some of their ideas are. And if there's anyone on the left that disagrees with me, you are more than welcome to call in. As long-term viewers of this show know, they never do. They won't call in because they cannot defend the insanity that are the policies that they are screaming at the top of their lungs from Disney and CNN and MSNBC and ABC, from the Intercept, the Atlantic. They can't support these ideas. Because the moment you start thinking about them, the moment that you actually listen to what they're saying and say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Can you explain it to me? And they can't. They can't. And that's why they have to have Twitter be left-leaning and they can't let free speech in there. It's the reason why they persecute this channel, that they suppress us, that they try and silence our voices. It's the reason why they won't show you any of the events that are happening around your neighborhood that matter to you. Because they want you to vote for them, to give them power, to keep them in power, while you lose all power and you are forced to obey. And I think that's wrong. And if someone thinks that that's the right way for America, if that's the right way for the world, please call in and tell me why. Please. As user mentions, Martha's Vineyard is a special floating island, don't you know? Yeah, that's why they don't have to worry about beachfront property because global warming is going to flood all the beaches. That's why Obama bought beachfront property, because it's going to flood. The logic of the left, it makes perfect sense. Obama has beachfront property because, it's going to be flooded because climate change. That makes sense. We should pay people $30 an hour. We should pay them $100 an hour because, it's just money. It doesn't mean anything. Inflation isn't real. Yeah, okay. It's so aggravating. It really is, folks. But again, I do want to thank Rich Chiavelli and the American Fireworks display for their help in letting me cover this event so that I could make sure you know about it. I hope people will also support us on May 3rd because we're having a protest at SUNY Broome against the critical race theory and its applications, the program that they're putting on May 3rd to try and teach our kids in our schools, in college, to become racist, which is critical race theory, is intersectionality. That is the basis of their thought, and they're trying to indoctrinate our kids, even the young adults that are about to come into our communities. They're trying to indoctrinate them into this vile ideology, and I oppose it. I oppose it because I'm an American, because I'm black, because I'm Hispanic, because I'm a male, because it's evil. And I am opposing this, and I am going to protest that on May 3rd, and I hope you will come and join me and help you have our voices heard, because the news media are ignoring it, just like they ignored the protest, the People's Convoy. Just like they're trying to mislead you, they don't want to talk about this. Yeah, users mentioning that there was a TikTok video of a girl saying that inflation is fake. TikTok's owned by China. Of course they're going to say that. She probably got paid by the Chinese government. I don't know. I don't watch TikTok because, I have brain cells. And the requirement for watching TikTok is letting your brain cells die. It's worse than drinking. You kill more brain cells watching TikTok than you do from drinking. I truly believe it. Could be wrong. It's not a scientific study, but I'm pretty sure you kill more brain cells watching TikTok than drinking. I feel confident in that. I don't know, folks. So I've been covering a lot of stuff here today, trying to catch up. There was even more stuff. There was different stuff that I was going to speak about. I didn't get to talk about Iran. I didn't get to talk about the avian flu that's destroying our poultry. I didn't get to talk in depth about the fact that we have, again, one of the reasons why I'm saying you need to go out and buy 10% more food every time you buy food. We have lost 19 food processing plants in 6 months. That's on top of the fact that the White House has told us there's going to be a food shortage. That's on top of the inflation of our food. That's on top of knowing about the fertilizer that the world is not going to have. The price is going up, folks. And I know I didn't get to talk about that today, but I didn't forget about it. I just didn't get a chance to get to it. But we started late today, so I did want to get at least a couple of hours in to talk with you because I'm always here. It's your donations. You guys keep the lights on. It's just like with American Fireworks display and Rich. And I know I want to thank also John R. I want to thank User. I want to thank Lynn. You guys have helped make sure that I could pay the bills, that I could keep the internet on, that I could keep the lights on, so that I could come out and speak with you about all these things and to be able to go to these events to tell you what the major news media won't tell you. It's terrifying, folks. It's terrifying. The things that they hide from you. And they won't have honest conversations with you. And let me say again, any politician that wants to have their voice heard, I will give them the opportunity to have their voice heard. This channel has been since 2008. We have been interviewing candidates of Democrats, progressives, libertarians, conservatives, Republicans, every candidate. We have done interviews with them all. We will let you have your voice heard so that the public can make a decision on whether they do or do not want to vote for you. We have always been fair and impartial in every single interview we have done with everyone of every party, because you deserve to have an honest answer to your questions so that you know what you're voting for and what you're going to get from that vote. And we give every candidate as much time as they want to answer our questions. And we invite them all for 2022. They can come on to this program. The only thing we're telling them is we treat everyone the same. Everyone gets hard questions. Everyone is given the opportunity to answer however they wish. But they will answer. If they come onto this program, we ask a question, they will give you a real answer. No dodging allowed. I know the laws as well, and probably better than most of these politicians, because I read the bills. I do my research. You can come onto this program. You will be heard. You will get tough questions, but they will be fair, and you will be treated with respect. It's 2022. It's an election cycle, midterms. The public deserves to know who's getting elected and whether they should be elected. DFG, hey there. Good to see you. DFG says he thinks I'm a good guy, thank you. Or she, I'm not sure if DFG is a guy or a girl. DFG says I'm a good guy, so thank you. And just found a channel and hopes that we're growing. We are growing. We are in the top 85% of all news channels on YouTube. Top 85%. We're getting there. We're getting there, folks. And our target is 1,234 subscribers. That's our goal for this year. Please subscribe. It may not mean a lot to you. It's just clicking that button. It means a lot to us. It helps us break into the top 90% of channels on news, to be able to beat the algorithms and to hear your voice every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to tell me whether you agree with me or not, to tell me what you think, to let politicians hear your voice every week on all the issues that you think are important. So DFG, I thank you for watching the program, for being involved. I thank you for being part of this audience, as I thank everyone for being our audience, for checking out our content. And please do check out the coverage of the People's Convoy. See what really happened. Every one of those videos, unedited, no edit. It's what actually happened. Those were live streams. No edit involved. Everyone's voice. You get to hear it. You can make up your own mind what you think about it. I'm happy to see your comments about it. That's what we try to do on this channel. And I thank you, each and every one of you, whether you watch this program for 10 seconds or you watch it for 10 hours, I thank you for being part of this audience from around the world. You guys mean the most for me. That's why I do it every week. And that's why I'm going to be back next week, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking with you again. With that said, I want to thank you. I'm going to let you guys go. It's 7 p.m. I'm a little behind today. But we will be back next week on our regular time. And I want you all to be well. And I look forward to hearing your voices, each and every one of them, no matter what you have to say, as long as you say it respectfully. Thank you, people. Everyone, be well, be safe. I'll talk to you again next week.